Hey YouTube, A Hill from Oz here. I'm just recording a quick video for my sister to show her some of the extra audio features that you can get within OBS with the Reaffir plugins. So let's get started. I love this. I love this so much. So many Ashleys. Anyway, let's just turn me off then, should I? Alright. It's gonna get super trippy. So what I'm going to do is, I've got my microphone here. I'm just going to quickly show you the Rea plugin. So if you right click it and then go to filters, it'll come up with the filters windows. What we can do is we want to add a VST 2.0x plugin. And let's just call it FIR. So Rea has a whole bunch of different plugins that do different parts of the audio workflow. I'm going to use Reaffir Start because it's a really easy way to show what's happening with the audio. So with Reaffir, what you can see is when someone's talking, it's doing the waveform of the actions. If I make a particular noise, for example, you can see that particular set of sounds. What Reaffir lets you do is see where those sounds are and also your noise floor. I happen to be using a particularly good microphone, so there is not much of a noise floor going on. But if I had, for example, a computer or something, there would be a certain level of noise that's coming from it. For example, if I click my mouse, see that little spike? Well, that little spike is the sound coming through. Now, if I turn on the automatic profile again and be quiet, what I'll then do is click a bunch of times and you'll see the grey one go up, but not the yellow, which means that it's getting the noise, but it's actually filtering it out. And so you'll see this little spike up here as the frequency comes through. Alright, so now when I click, you shouldn't really hear anything. So what I tend to do when I've done a noise floor like this is I then hold control and just drag it up slightly, just to put a little bit more buffer between the noise. Otherwise you'll get some really weird sound artifacts happening. Now if I do this again and say make that humming noise, you'll be able to see that will then come out. Let me just maybe turn my camera back on so that you can see when I'm making it or not. Alright. So again, increase it a little bit. So now I can talk a bit, you should be able to hear me kind of okay. Problem is that, see how this is actually quite large across the frequency spectrum? We're probably getting to the point where it's really garbled and maybe a bit dialecty. If you absolutely must do it, you can reduce the gain on it, so that way everything else is there. But if I do that noise again, it'll be much quieter than it was before. And again, if you're finding that you want to do some other types of things, you can. So this is actually removing it from the audio channels. If I'm cutting out this much audio, what I can do is actually increase the output gain. Just drag this back up again. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, hello. So that should be coming through louder and probably less garbled, is what I would expect here. That's the basics of reverb. But normally what you would do is you would just do something like this, where whatever the noise floor of your equipment is will sit below that noise. And sometimes if there's like a computer fan or something, you can just click with your mouse and completely remove that set of frequencies. And that shouldn't hurt the overall sound, particularly if you're only doing it in a couple of spots, but that will work there. So there's some other parts of RIA tools that makes it useful. So let's just get out of this one. So you can actually turn off a particular filter just by clicking on that. So there's a whole bunch of different parts of audio in general, expanders, gains, compressors, and things. Compressor you're probably not going to use anymore, because if you actually look down on the bar down here, see how it's got the orange and the red? If I talk really loudly, sorry, I'll talk into the microphone. If I talk really loudly, this is actually in the latest versions of OBS a compressor. So if we add in, the other one that you'll probably use is a noise gate. So there is a built-in noise gate to OBS, but I like the RIA ones better, so let's call this gate. And we will check the RIA gate. Open plugin. So this gives you a bit more visualization about what the noise gate is doing. So what does a noise gate do? Well, basically you set, on the left hand side here, you set your level. I realize that when I move it up, you won't be able to hear me. So what you do is anything below that level won't go through, right? So, and then what you can do is you can specify a few parts of this requirements, right? So for example, pre-open, attack, hold. As an example, you can say how long, attack is how, I think, long after, how long the noise has to be above that level before it opens the gate. So the idea is that if you've got a noise gate on and you're clicking or something, I'm clicking at the moment, you can see the little bar on the right for the output mix. Hold up to the camera. So if I set this noise gate above the noise floor for the room, so I'm showing that I can actually have it so that any background, you talk above a certain level, then yeah, but it'll send it to the out. This is how you can get rid of some really basic noise. So a lot of the audio programs actually kind of do this to them, but this is a lot more control. So for example, the hold, set the hold time, yeah, a milliseconds. What this lets you do is, after, say you're playing a music, singing a note or something, and the noise is below that, when the noise is below that threshold, it'll actually keep the gate open for a little bit, just so that you can get the last parts of that voice. Otherwise you end up with a very choppy noise. So at the moment there's probably going to be a lot of choppiness to the end of my syllables, particularly if I are really just above where I'm, when I'm talking not quite loudly. When I talk above the bar, you hear me. So calibrating your noise gate is one thing that you can do. So I typically use a noise gate and the FIR filter, but realistically, once you've got the FIR filter, you don't actually need to do it, because that's what this bar does. This bar here is kind of like a noise gate, but for a set of frequencies. So, for example, us sitting at to negative 84 then, if I go back to the gate, negative 84, that's the same level. Right? So, if I'm using the gate, I can set this much higher, but as soon as it gets below negative 39.2 at this time, then the audio is gone. Again, go to the prefer. I could set this to the same thing, negative 39. One, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3. So that's 2 of the gates. Now you have a whole lot of other features here. For example, ducking is a really, really cool thing to have set up, where you can have it so you've got like a music track playing, and then when you talk, it'll actually reduce the volume of that other music track. So that way you can have it, like if someone's playing a game or something, you can have that and then just talk over the top of it, and it knows that the audio coming from the microphone is better. Let me see if I can get to a microphone that's picking up a lot more noise so that you can kind of hear what's going on. Alright. See, 930 audio. Okay. Right, so now we only have the audio that's coming from my webcam. So you can see that actually this is a lot more noisier than the other microphone. If I set this to negative 120 again, so you can see that that's where the noise floor was. And it was picking up a lot more noise than what my other microphone was. So if I turn this off, you should be able to hear the noise. And now when I turn it back on again, you shouldn't hear the noise anymore. That's purely by using the frequency removal. So you can see there's still some little perks coming up. So what I'll do is I'll kind of kill them manually. Alright. So now when I'm talking, you should still be able to hear me coming in. Should sound okay, but a lot of that background noise will be gone. And I think if I click, you won't hear it actually happening. And that's a really quick look at refer. Now, obviously, you can apply this to anything. If you're playing a video or something like that and it's got some really bad audio in it, you can just really quickly use this to knock out the hum of whatever was recorded, or if they had their microphone too close to a power supply or something similar. So there we go. That's how you can do that. Turn my display capture off. Yeah. Maybe some other cool things that you might want to see or that you might not know about. So I was playing around with today. You can add a display source for a browser. Do I have YouTube? I do. Right. So if I do 1920 by 1080, if I do this control audio via OBS, I'll then actually get the audio in there. So what's really good about using this, you can select a local video file, for example, and if you right click and go interact, you can now skim through videos, skip ads, play it, stuff like that.
Spin mostly the cold, dark expanse.
If I look in here, so browser's not muted, so let's mute that. So if I unmute it, so you'll have that audio coming through from the video, which is really cool. So unlike, and actually if you choose some local files, you can play a local video in there, and then it'll let you scroll through it, change it, whatever you need to do. Have the audio coming through as well, all nice and good, unless you do all those kinds of things. So I actually use a green screen. So if I go to my C930 camera here and go to filters, I can see that I actually have a chroma key applied and color correction. So I've got a lot of lights in here, so I tend to color correct the lights away. And obviously the chroma key makes my background, and through some through some cropping, basically, I get rid of my microphone that's hanging above my head here. And can do whatever I need to do. Alright, that's probably enough for this shortish video. Enjoy. See you later.